Welcome to Earful of Dirt Lineouts, episode 28. I'm your host, Aaron Castro, down from the mountaintop that was the MLR final. But we got some really cool stuff for, I guess, our off-season content already. I have the referee that had the whistle in his mouth on the day, many moons ago, it seems, that they played rugby sevens on the Bachelorette. Jude Kerrison.
Yes, they tried. They tried to play rugby sevens on the Bachelorette, and I was there. I admit that much.
So, what's your rugby background outside of being the most hated person on the pitch for 80 minutes?
Well, I was born in Limerick, Ireland, in the shadows of Thomond Park, and I grew up playing rugby.
You're Irish. You don't.
Yeah, I don't sound it. I know. I'll get to that, Aaron.
All right.
I grew up playing until I moved to the United States when I was 11 to New Hampshire, and that's an odd jump from Ireland to New Hampshire, but one we made. And I started playing football and stuff. And then when I went to college, I picked rugby back up. And I played rugby pretty consistently since 1999 until I was finally crushed by the burden of having 4 kids and had to retire with bad knees in the past few years. So I've played pretty consistently for 14 odd years. It's 14, 16 years, somewhere in that range. And I've been a rugby fan my whole life. Earliest rugby hero was Simon Gagan, playing for Ireland, and followed Munster very closely. I follow Irish rugby very closely. And yeah, so it was. And I also happen to follow The Bachelor closely, and I will admit that to just about everybody. So when those two worlds intersected with the rugby club that I've been associated with for 14 odd years, there was no way that was going to happen without me being involved in some way, shape, or form.
That's kind of awesome. So. Yeah. So you're a New Englander. Are you going to buy season tickets to the New England Free Jacks?
Yes, I want to get up there and watch it. I'm going to give you a little bit of a want moment when they were supposed to. There was some games going on with Munster and Leinster, and everybody was involved in April.
Yeah.
And I had tickets all ready to go, and Leinster were playing Munster, and then I was going to be watching all the other games, and my dog died. So that was a bad time for me. So
that's rough.
Incurring a little bit of sympathy from your listeners there, and now they won't feel so, they won't break me across the coals so bad. But yeah, no, I want to get up there because friends of mine have brought their kids up and have said it's a great event. So I'll be there.
Yeah, that'll be great to see, I guess, professional rugby enter the throes of New England. Hopefully they go with some winter rugby because I'm all about rugby in the snow, apparently.
Yeah.
So the Bachelorette series, okay. So how does it get to Newport, Rhode Island, and we have this game with 13 interesting characters. Although I really wish they had just done it earlier in the show, so you would get them to play 15s against, say, Newport.
Yeah, or have enough guys present. So there was a lot of correspondence between the producers and a couple of members of our club. And there was a lot of details that were trying to get fleshed out, but they were coming to Newport. They were coming to Newport whether we were involved or not. And one of the ideas that they had for a date, quote unquote, was a rugby game. And come to find out, the producer who produced this episode was he's from South Africa. He played rugby in high school, and then he had summered in Newport and Middletown in Rhode Island, So he was familiar with the area and familiar with Newport Rugby Club. So that was his idea, and they've been trying to do a rugby event or date or whatever you want to call it for a while. And so we just kind of started putting the pieces together and seeing what we could come up with. And, Fort Adams was a cool location, and, they seemed interested. But it was a lot of like kind of murky details until the day of the actual event itself. And there was, some surprises sprung on us as a group. The big one that's getting all the attention is the leggings and the eye black. And I just, to me, it wasn't that big of a deal. We did say to the guys, you don't really, it's not really, you don't really wear eye black like that. And, you shouldn't wear leggings. They're not really allowed. But like I said, this game wasn't exactly street legal.
Hey, I remember you said no water breaks, so you should have because for men's rugby there is no tights allowed at all. In women's rugby there is. I'm very jealous of the women who got that rule in.
When that speech happened, I'll let you into the magic of Hollywood here. What happened was they all showed up, but before they had shown up, me and my two associates, Brian Moore and Brandon Smith, were standing there, and the producers were asking us questions. What's your favorite thing about rugby? What's, what do you look for in a new teammate? What don't you tolerate on a rugby field? Like all these questions, and we were answering them, and they were filming us answering these questions. And then, then we went back to what we were doing, and then the guys showed up, and then we came up, and then we were supposed to deliver certain things to the guys. So it was a totally cut up. I was heavily edited.
Oh, for sure. I know how TV works. They're going to give you, it's all shock jocking, right? They're going to give you just only part of it. And I'm guessing, you were out there for at least a couple of hours. We
were out there all day. We were there from 9 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night. And it was cold. It was cold.
Wait.
Yeah.
You had these dudes playing sevens for
No. They were not. We were. So we showed up, we got everything all set up. We had lined the fields, we had done all that stuff. Newport Rugby Club had done that in the week leading up to the game. And then we were out there, and they wanted to show some B-roll stuff. So they were out there filming us playing against ourselves. And then there was a little bit of a break. And then it was, okay, the guys are coming soon. And then they wanted us to be playing a game when the guys came up the ramp and into the fort to see what was going on. And so we were playing a game, and then the guys came up, and they shot the little introduction deal, and then we dove into a practice. And in leading up to the event, we had asked, all right, how do you want this practice to go? Because are you looking for certain things? What are we doing? And they said, just treat these guys like they're at the time 14 new players for Newport Rugby Club, and take them through a practice. So we were like, great, that's what we'll do. And then cut to the day of, it was like, we want to see this, this, and this. And we practiced with them, if you want to call it a practice, for about an hour. If you're showing up with 14 guys that are going to play in a game a couple hours later, you're probably not going to spend half an hour teaching them how to do drop kicks. But that's what they wanted to see, and that's what happened. So we did the practice. There was a little bit of a downtime where they went to the dressing rooms, and then they all emerged in what you saw them in.
1960s.
Yeah.
Long sleeve.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was.
Yeah, they were basically in you'd expect to see in black and white pictures. But the interesting thing about all that was the crowd that was outside was there for 4 hours. There was 2,000 people that piled into this place. and they stood outside for 4 hours. So they all came in and they set up around the field, dangerously close to the playing field, and they were going crazy. I mean, these people were waiting for 4 hours and were dying to see anything related to the Bachelorette. So it was quite an environment. I'll put it that way.
So who had the eye black with them?
The production people must have. So there was a lot of it was really funny because there's the producers who don't know anything about rugby and don't know anything about sport in general. We were trying to explain to them a line out, and because they wanted to see the guys getting lifted up in the air. They thought, oh, that looks really cool. And it's like, yeah, but we can't teach them how to do that in like 5 seconds. Somebody's going to get landed on their head and break their spine. So we were saying, a line out is when you throw the ball in, in soccer, and as soon as we said in soccer, and the director said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And it was like, we were dealing with people that didn't know anything about sport in general. So they had their ideas in their head of, I said to them, listen, I look like I should be working at Foot Locker, not refereeing a rugby game. Like, this is what a rugby referee would wear. And they say, yeah, but that's what our audience thinks of a referee. So it's like, all right, okay, I'll play along. But they had those types of things. And the ball had, they brought the balls and they had literally just painted them white, painted over Gilbert, because they couldn't have the advertisement on it. So it was stuff like that. We have Canterbury sponsored jerseys, and they put gaff tape over the CCC logo. And the guy that did the tape, he's just production guy with 5,000 rolls of tape on his belt, and he takes out a Sharpie. He's like, I'm gonna do a little design on it, and he just draws a little wave, and it's like, okay, yeah, that looks cool, dude. But they did that, but they didn't do the shorts. They did, we have sponsors in Joe Fitzpatrick here in Newport. Pay me for that, Joe. He has logos on our gear, and we were joking with him after the event. We were like, if any of those logos got on TV, you got to pay us. We're with $5,000 per logo that we got you on TV. So yeah, it was the production team produced a lot of what you saw involved there.
So what you're telling me is they didn't want to spend money on editing.
And on editing or no free ads is what I was told.
Well, I understand the no free ads, but they could, instead of just, hey, let's just tape it up, because they did that with I guess her date to the Celtics facility. They had the ad that was whatever the ad was in the corner, and they put something on that, and I was like, oh, come on, that's just whack. So all right, so that's what dealing with Bachelorette production is like. So so you get there, you're going through this practice. So how are you thinking way before? Okay, so during the practice, since we're going to do this, what was Luke P like?
Douche. Just a douche.
Really? It's pretty rough.
Yeah. As soon as I saw him, I was like, he's short, he's jacked, he's very jacked. Credit where credit's due. And I was like, this kid, he could be a player. But he would not listen to anything. He kept on, tackling in rugby, go cheek to cheek. You put your head behind the ball carrier, and we were doing tackling drills and everything. He was shooting right in, his face right in front. And 2 or 3 times I took him aside and I was like, listen, man, you got to get your head behind. Somebody's going to be running down the field full speed. Their knee's going to come up. Your head's going to go in front, and you're going to be sleeping on the field. I've seen it happen. And it was like, no, I got it. And by the 3rd time I told him, I was like, this motherfucker, I hope he gets knocked out. I swear to God. And so, yeah, he was like that. My favorite story was when he was during practice, they brought out a case of water, just, individual water bottles. And everybody's grabbing them and taking swigs out of them. And he said, without a hint of sarcasm or joking at all, he said, does anybody have a marker? I don't want to share water with any of these guys. And my buddy, Adam Costa, goes, what do you care? You guys are all kissing the same girl anyway. And we all, Newport Rugby guys, started breaking up, and not one other person laughed, except for the camera guys. The camera guys were laughing, but none of the contestants and none of the production people thought that was funny at all. So they took it pretty seriously.
Yeah. So who, like, I guess up to this point, who was the one dude where you're like, this guy is the least whack? Like, I might let him get within 5 feet of, my sister.
Honestly, most of the guys were cool. Okay. I will be honest with you, like, they were just regular guys. I mean, they showed up, so they all ran up the ramp, and they're used to this by now. But they all ran up the ramp, and they're standing in front of me, and I was like to the guy next to me, I was like, they look like a pack of puppy dogs. They were just up there wagging, like happy to be there. Like, wait, guys, what are we doing? Oh, this is awesome. Rugby? Cool, let's go. Yeah. Who are you? How long have you lived here? Like, they were so goddamn enthusiastic about everything that you really couldn't help but like them. Like, they seemed like cool guys. And some of them were, seemed like athletes. They were all in shape, and so a lot of them were cool. I liked Kevin, with the guy who hurt his shoulder, I think it was. He was real interested in rugby. I wouldn't be surprised if he picks it up. Like, he was asking a lot of good questions. He seemed like he had watched some before and knew a little bit about certain things. A guy, Garrett, he could kick the ball a goddamn mile. He was a punter in high school, and I played 10 and I punted in high school as well. So we kind of bonded over trying to get a spiral out of a rugby ball and drop kicking. So he was cool. Dylan, it was somebody who impressed me over the course of the day. He was when he showed up, he just looked like he'd be blown away in the wind. And he had a lot of heart. Like, he was tough. Like, he was in there. He was the guy on the green team that scored an intercept try, and I was like running after him. I'm going to call it, call the score. I was like, yes, go Dylan. I was psyched for him. But most of them were cool guys, and they seemed happy to be there. But they knew they were on camera too, so take that for what it's worth.
Got it. So we get to the game, right?
Yeah.
What are you before? So what is going through your mind in this? I guess, did they have 14 guys, or was it 13?
No. So I can't even remember right now, but I think it was. Did we have 14 and one of them was hurt? I
think it was like 13 because the guy, there's always the person that doesn't go on the group date. So yeah. You probably had to put a dude out there, maybe.
So it would have been 13 then, and there was one guy who was hurt from a previous roller derby date. So he had an injured ankle and wasn't allowed to participate, which I thought, why would you send him on this date then for him to stand on the sidelines? But that's neither here nor there. So we had these guys, and it was already going to be mismatched teams. And I was like panicking because I saw what happened at the training session that we were supposed to have, like, full access to them, where they said, we're going to let you do this practice and we'll just film it. But that's not what happened. So, how's the game going to restart? What happens if I call a penalty? What happens if I call a free kick? What happens if somebody scores? What happens at a ruck? Where's offside? All of this stuff that we did not get to go over with these guys. And now there's 2,000 people in there expecting a game, and these guys are getting all psyched up. And I'm like, I need to talk to them for 2 seconds at least to be able to say, this is what I'm looking for, and this is what I'm going to do. And I just told them, listen, just listen to me. I'm going to try and let you guys do whatever you want within reason, but just listen to me. If I tell you to get back, get back. If I tell you to drop the ball, fucking drop the ball. I mean, so I was kind of panicking there a little bit. because I knew that this, they didn't know how this was going to go.
I mean, I guess, maybe the boys didn't, but I would think that these producers should, because every time you watch an episode, it's always a shit show.
Yeah, it is. But they knew that they would be able to cut it however they wanted to cut it, So they all they wanted to do was get some big hits and some big runs and some, some things that they could put into the rest of the episode so that it looked like it was an actual game going on. So they didn't need for it to be a 14-minute, compelling game. They just needed a couple of moments. And I only realized that after watching the episode. I was like, oh, yeah, they didn't give a shit what it actually looked like on the day. They just wanted a couple of highlights. And,
so I guess for the conduct of the game at this point, just in general, for a bunch of nobodies who had never seen an egg in their life. They probably saw the brown one, but they didn't see the white one. You know what I'm saying? But how do you think the game for guys who just picked up a rugby ball like 2 hours before? How do you think that went?
I thought it went pretty well, better than what I expected. So the guys were, under that amount of pressure, being on national TV, that playing your first game in front of that many people. I was expecting that with a painted ball, by the way, on a 38-degree day, I thought there was going to be, knock-ons upon knock-ons upon knock-ons, but their handling was pretty good. Their rucking was non-existent. Their running was good. Their tackling was good, albeit a little bit high. But overall, their effort was like top notch. You die to have, a New England rugby club will be so lucky to have a couple of guys off of that team show up to their next practice, so it was, I think overall they did really well. They deserve a lot of credit for, putting forth the effort that they did. But it was certainly, as a rugby enthusiast, you would not have been satisfied watching what happened when the game kicked off.
Well, no, because I think a fellow Twitter man, P-Wagon6, had some things to say about the reffing. He has apologized.
I accept his apology.
But
move forward.
So reffing's a hard thing.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I never want to be a ref. Although I get told that I need to. Oh, we got you coach certified now. Now we need to get you ref certified. Blah blah blah. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm good, man. But I understand you guys have a hard job to do out there. So do you think that compared to normal goons? I love my fellow rugby players, but we can be pretty mean to refs too. But from normal rugby players, do you think that this group of new rugby players dealt with the referee correctly? Without having any idea how to deal with a referee in rugby.
Yeah, I think that they, if we were playing basketball and I made some calls, they probably would have turned around and been like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't foul him, I didn't touch him. They didn't know any of the rules to even question. Do you know what I mean? So It's not like I just in the game too, I just let everything go. It was like I said advantage over, and we forgot about that high tackle. Because if I had called everything, there wouldn't have been a game. It just would have been, every 2 seconds we would have stopped. So it was liberal advantage, and I was like, just pick it up and go. Just pick it up and go, and they did. It wasn't really like anybody questioning calls. It was immediately apparent. Like I put this on Twitter, like it was immediately apparent that they didn't know what they were doing when the game kicked off. And I immediately knew that I was going to have to like invent a different version of rugby on the fly. When the first tackle happened and about 3 guys piled in and they're all just arms around the ball, rolling around on the ground.
So it's like a fumble.
It was a fumble-rooski play, yeah, with like, or over half of the participants of the game involved in a fumble-rooski play. So I was like literally pulling guys out by their collars and saying, let it go, let it go, let it go. And then pointed at one guy, you pick it up and go. And that's how most of the breakdowns went. So it was, don't dive on the ball. Don't leave it, roll away, get away. They didn't know any of that stuff. So, like I said, they didn't know enough about the game to question anything I said. I could have really said anything and they would have, had that same puppy dog enthusiasm. Okay, sir, let's go. But that's the way it went.
So let's get into the no yellow card on Luke P. I know you said on Twitter that you were nowhere near this, like you and your ARs were nowhere near this side of the field when this off the ball altercation occurred.
Yeah, I mean, so you got to take into consideration here. I have no assistance from anybody on this, and if you go back and look at the footage, and I have, you can see when it pans across, we're at the other side of the field, literally the complete other side of the field. When this happened in the game, I didn't know about it, and then after the game, one of the guys was acting totally butthurt. I can't remember his name, Luke, whatever. And I was like, what's his deal? And one of the rugby guys was like, the other dude dumped him on his back and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, when was that? And they were like, oh, yeah, blah, blah. And I didn't see anything. I didn't know anything about it. So I was like, afterwards, I was like, how did I miss it? How did I miss that if it actually happened? And I actually feel vindicated by seeing the footage from what happened because it was just so far away from the actual play. I mean, it was comical to think that had anything to do with the play that was going on the other side of the field.
So we've talked about the boys. Did you get to meet Hannah?
Yes. Yes.
Is she cool?
She was cool. She was like they were, super enthusiastic, super happy to be there. She had an unusual amount of energy. Apparently, she was in Boston. She was in Boston until 4:00 in the morning the night before, and then she showed up about 11 o'clock on the day that we were filming, and she was bouncing off the walls. And so she was there and very enthusiastic, super nice, super big smile, talking to everybody, seemed, like she was very happy to be there. And then we did the practice, did the guys, did all that stuff. And then there was a break, and apparently she went and took a nap. And I only know that because one of our guys, the Newport Rugby guys, was looking for the craft services and went into the wrong room, and she was taking a nap on a couch, and he was quickly ushered out by whoever her assistant was. And then she woke up and the game time came around, and, the crowd was in there, and she comes running in, and they all went nuts. And she did about 6 laps of the field, giving high fives and like doing cartwheels and just bouncing off the walls. And this went on for about 15 minutes. And I was standing there in shorts and a t-shirt in 38 degrees. And I said to the guy next to me, I'm like, how long is this going to go on? Can we get this game going here? But yeah, she seemed nice. She was very happy to be there. And she was an active participant in everything that you saw.
Did any one of your clubmates try to get her number?
No. The funny thing about this whole event, and being a fan of the show as I am, again, to witness what the actual scene is like is bizarre, because they call it a date, but there's like no way to get like one-on-one time with anybody. And she was like flocked by assistants and, production people everywhere she went. they were within arm's reach of her at any point in time. So it wasn't like, hey, you just sidle up to her and be like, hey, what's up, girl? Like there wasn't any of that type of stuff going on for sure.
That's interesting. I mean, it's totally, I guess it is a TV show and she's, this star, and it's just, I don't know. It's sort of watching it, it's sort of a microcosm because my girlfriend is like all in on the show, and I just sort of watch it sometimes to see the train wreck of humanity.
And I've learned, just to interrupt you there for 1 second, I've gotten a lot of texts, a lot of direct messages, a lot of emails from guys saying, hey, I'm watching The Bachelorette with my girlfriend, with my wife. It's always qualified by I'm not watching it by myself, and I just saw you. So with all people that they wanted to say, hey, Jude, I saw you on TV, but I'm not going to admit that I watched The Bachelorette. So I'm here to say it's okay, guys. You can admit it. You watch the show. I watch it too. Okay? Don't be afraid to come out and say it.
Oh man! So you guys got to do that. Did they? Has there been? Well, I guess. I mean, I think I tweeted this, but real question: did you guys get anything out of that?
We got some money. The club got some money. I personally did not get anything other than some fun stories, and my kids really liked watching me on TV. We got some very, 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 very small amount of money. Whatever you think it is, probably like cut it by 2/3. It wasn't enough to cover what we actually physically did, setting up for the day, setting up the field, and providing our time. But you know what? We were out there. A lot of the guys that are involved in the club came out, and we just were having a day together. I mean, it was like we had one little room in the side of Fort Adams, and like you didn't really want to go in there with what was going on in that room all day, but everybody was having a blast, and we had a really fun time. And a lot of people were giving us a lot of grief on certain message boards and social media. But I think any other club around would have done the same exact thing that we did and enjoyed it.
I don't really remember, but did you at least say who you guys were in the episode? Because that would have been the key part.
They did. I think so. They were supposed to. Now I don't remember. I really just watched it for myself.
Because that would be the I guess the exposure. Yeah. The actual value, right?
Yeah, it was. That's what it was, and that's what they trade on apparently, because they don't pay anybody like a great deal of money, and they weren't very well organized either. I think that was the thing that I came to learn, because they didn't know what was going to happen until their team got together and wrote the ideas for the show on like Wednesday, and we shot it on Friday. So it was like all this time that we were leading up, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And they're like, well, this is what we're thinking. And then it would change, and it would change again, and it would change again. And talking to the people that run Fort Adams, there's music festivals that happen there. There's a lot of big events that happen there. And they were like, man, these people we don't know what they're doing. We don't know who's handling their power. We don't know who's doing craft services. We don't know who's doing any of this stuff for them. And we don't know if they know either. So it was all kind of, fly by the seat of your pants a little bit there, which was interesting to witness.
So that's pretty cool. So how many games? Let's talk about refereeing. So how many games do you referee a year? Are you one of those guys that gets around the paddock twice?
No. I guess this is a misconception, but I don't referee. I'm not a rugby referee.
Oh, you're not a.
No, I'm not.
Wow.
I've refereed some B-side games when in my bare feet after I played A-side. No, this was like, we needed some personalities to be on TV, and so they were chosen from the ranks of Newport Rugby, and I was suggested to be referee. So I literally the day before I went out and I bought. We couldn't find flags, so I had to buy like AR flags and cards the day before.
Like every rugby club, the AR is like the guy. It's like, hey, you're gonna be touch judge today. Here's a towel.
Exactly.
That you're gonna use as your flag. Oh man. Oh, that's
yeah. So shout out Rugby Imports in East Providence, Rhode Island. That's where I got my cards and my flags that I didn't use.
So, a misnomer. Jude Kerrison is not a rep, but he was.
I'm here to set the record straight.
He was that day. That's good. That is some good stuff. So, I guess. So now we gotta. When do you think Luke P gets cut?
I think they're gonna take him a long way. I think he'll be involved because it's good television. I think I've learned that the production has a lot of input into these decisions, and so I anticipate him staying around for a while.
So you, I mean, admittedly, you said you were a fan. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a fan, but I've watched enough over the past couple of years now that I do not understand the amount of train wrecks that are put onto the show, because the drama, if you just put catches on the show that will just be organic, right, will be perfectly good enough. But then you got to bring in some, some mentally unstable people into the show.
Yeah, I think that every year the stakes rise, and you got to keep them up until 4:00 in the morning and make sure they're sleep deprived, and feed them copious amounts of alcohol, so that decision making is greatly impaired, and then mush them all together in one house, and I think it makes for fascinating television. I will say I prefer The Bachelor to The Bachelorette. Most of the time, I'm like, these dudes should be a little bit more rational about what's going on.
Well, I would say a couple of seasons ago, guys, the guys are getting more irrational. As we go. Yeah. But just seeing how on the Bachelor is gone, I would say the irrationality that happens there is just, sort of kind of normal.
Yeah, it's expected. So. I also when you're on the show, you have the potential of then going on the Bachelor in Paradise show, which is you're on vacation in Mexico or wherever it is.
Hey, they're filming right now.
Yeah,
right now they're filming in Mexico.
So go nuts on The Bachelor, make some drama, make some good TV, be bankable, where the producers know that you're going to produce some content, and then get voted out, and then you head off down to Mexico, and sow your wild oats down there for a little while. Doesn't sound so bad, but again, I'm in a different situation, I guess.
Well, Jude, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
We'll get this out in a couple of days. If anyone who wants to view it live, or not live, but on delay, you can check it out on YouTube. You're Full of Dirt Rugby podcast. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.